I wanted to touch a little bit on the notions of karma, but that also is attached to Dharma and Dhamma in Pali. They are connected actually. Even though many people use the word karma, but they don't really know what Dharma is, they go together in one way. Dharma is actually everything in one way. And also, there are different definitions. Sometimes some people say it's a bit difficult to define or give a meaning of Dharma because it can be many things, it can be everything, and it depends on the situation for what it was used for originally. But I can say that Dharma is everything, as ultimately, as a good aware Buddhist could say, that it is what many other people would call God actually. Again, that notion of God in other places or religions is exactly about that the people don't really understand about life, existence, what rules the world, the universe. And at the same time, because they are just regular humans with a lot of ignorance and cannot understand many things about their own life and nature, then they like to believe in things. And that's why it is called, of course, to believe in God. And it is only that is the truth, it's a belief. But of course, humans with their typical ignorance and the basic rational mind always try to create something in the mind, intellectually, to try to explain some things. And what they cannot explain, they make it like a holy, sacred thing, whatever, because it's beyond the mental reach. But then suddenly it has to become like so special also. And again, unfortunately, they push it to the point that they actually will fight over that, for exactly because they are all ignorant humans, religious people. They create different gods in different parts of the world. Again, it can be linked to culture, and then they will fight each other over that. And Ricky Gervais has some good jokes around that. Also, during one interview, when he was talking to Stephen Colbert, and I don't know at the end how many gods there are in the world. I forgot. I mean, some people mentioned some number, but who knows? Because of course, there are some civilization or tribes that, of course, would have their own belief, and we don't really know about that because they are quite remote tribes. Anyway, some people say, okay, there are 3,000 or 3,500 different gods in the world, right? But of course, each one that the people believe in, they think this is the real God, the real one. So again, just to confirm that this is kind of, unfortunately, a very big bad joke pulled by humans in the world, and just to confirm the level of ignorance. And again, there is a misconception for many people, because you can tell that some people try to debate, but they are ignorant about what they talk about. Is as soon as they would mention, well, but you in Buddhism and you got Buddha, well, then they obviously don't know even the basics of Buddhism, because Buddha is not considered a god in Buddhism, of course. He was just a human who made the proper work and steps to reach full enlightenment, the full understanding of the whole universe. And that's why after that, when he became aware of that ultimate truth and how everything works in the universe, the why and hows, all the questions answered, you could say, then, of course, he was asked, and that's what he dedicated his life to, share that knowledge, that understanding, and try to provide a technique and a path for other people to get there. And that's what it's all about. And that's exactly what we call Dhamma. So Dhamma, in that sense, is referring to the teachings of the Buddha. It is also, again, what is everything, the universe and the universal laws, the laws of nature, how everything is ruled. And then, as such also, as we are part of that, it is also to define what we call the contents of the mind, what's happening in the mind. But because ultimately, as I explained before, different ways, you are the creation of your mind originally, the original ignorant consciousness that created that ego, and then there's a body coming up, and the addiction to the senses that got developed, and everything like that. Everything is man-made. That's also some few famous quotes in Buddhism. Everything starts from the mind. Everything is mind-made. So the mind is ultimately still a creation of the universe through the basic consciousness, ignorant consciousness, as the ordered chaos, right? If you have watched that video and understood that point. So everything in the universe happens and exists that way, as a gathering of energies, but in a chaotic way. That's why it constantly evolves and constantly changes. That's why it can never be perfect that way. And that's why it's out of ignorance. And that creates some minds. And that's why enlightenment is having gone full circle around to understand all that and have developed that wisdom and proper understanding of that, of the Dhamma and the laws of nature and the universe that created all that. And that's why nothing is personal. And then when you become enlightened, then you have finished the whole notion of a chaotic order. Everything become ordered, flat, stable, solid, like solid as far as energy goes, you could say. I mean, nothing vibrates anymore. So that is kind of Dhamma. So Dhamma is everything like that, and so your mind is part of it too, and your mind is ruled by the laws of the universe. And the main rule of this chaotic order and constant evolution and everything being impermanent or ephemeral is the notion of karma. So that's kind of the main law of the universe, let's say. And just as I've explained before, that major evolution, you could say, of things, the chain reaction of the happening of things, the existence of phenomena in the universe, is what we call dependent origination. And sometimes it can be summed up in 8, 9 steps, or some people add extra, like to make it 12 because of the last ones of becoming and rebirth and all that. But ultimately it's back to the same what I explained earlier with Dhamma. It starts with ignorance and the creation of consciousness, and then but as it is created like that, it becomes ordered chaos. And that's why it's bound to constantly evolve and change all the time, again, which is something that most people have a hard time with, no matter what they think, as they still can understand that intellectually, but in real life application, they have a hard time with that. That's why they are not a real self entity as they think they are, as much as they like to define themselves that way, with this is me, this is who I am, this is what I am about. But it constantly changes, right? Because it's an ordered chaos. Yes, in that sense, nobody is perfect, and yeah, there's no perfection. As long as there is existing phenomena, there is no perfection like that, because of what it started from, and as such, it always constantly satisfies to that dependent origination chain reaction of events, which is cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, which is exactly the definition of karma. And so it will keep changing and evolving until one day, if someone manages to start to take a little bit control of that crazy mind, that delusional mind that believes in the entity of self and me, and this is me and my life and me during my life. No, it's constant change and constantly influenced by the outer world and energies around, unless you start to take control of all that. So karma in that sense, it is actually what it is known for, as far as the famous quote, you reap what you sow, and it's cause and effect, and what comes around goes around, and all that. Yes, because everything is such and follows the dependent origination, and what I explained before, what that we call the 5 khandhas. So that chain reaction that happens within yourself, within your mind, as far as billions of times per second. And that's what it is. And both ways, in the mind, emotionally, and physiologically, that's also what keeps you alive. Again, many people think that this is me, this entity, solid entity. Well, and you think you're in charge, but you're not at all, of course, because again, how much are you in charge of your breathing and your heartbeat and the billions of biochemical reactions that happen in your body every second? Are you in charge of that? Are you in control of that actually? Can you affect them at will? No, not at all. This is Dhamma. The Dharma, the law of the universe, rule that, and you don't rule that at all, of course. You're just a product of that. And that's why you follow those rules at 95%, and then maybe or more or less, you have maybe less than 5% of your own so-called own choices or decisions that you make once in a while. And that's why, again, if you are not able to meditate deep enough and concentrate deep enough to reach some level of witnessing awareness of what's happening at that scale, as I mentioned before, if you can reach that scale of concentration where you can start to dissociate things, and at the smaller and smaller scale of time, you will start to become more and more aware of all those things happening within that short time. Then that's how you will start to develop wisdom, because you can see, of course, that everything is impermanent, everything is constantly changing within yourself too, that you have no control over. And that's why you start to dissociate from that notion of me, I, and you start to move towards what we call the right view. The right view being exactly that understanding that there is no real me, no soul, no self, entity that's constant, but it's just energy flow constantly changing at every level. That's why your body, your shape, your mind, everything evolves over time, right? All the time. And it's also, again, as far as you adjust the thermodynamic machine, and you're just a thing that thinks like that, then it's like billions of times per second that things are happening. And that's why, in one way, human beings are such fragile things. They're complicated and also fragile. And just a little thing, just a little stone in the cobwheel system, and then suddenly gone, bigger, whatever, infection, disease, or chronic illness, and yeah, things can go wrong so easily. I mean, there's nothing to be proud of to be human in that way, as much as, again, many people like to think that, and that's again the deniers of reality who like to justify that way of being happy to be human and to experience all the ups and downs in life. Well, until sometime it goes really bad, and then they might rethink that. But anyway, but everything is karma like that. So everything is cause and effect, that chain reaction that happens all the time, and also up to those billions of time per second. And that's why one moment decide the next moment, decide the next moment, decide the next moment. As much as you can think sometimes that you make your own choice and you make your own decision compared to whatever is, there's not much of that happening. It depends at which scale you look at things too. So in one way, yeah, you can look at it that way, but that represents, yeah, as I said, maybe less than 5% of your life and existence. The rest is controlled unconsciously, let's say, by your previous karma and whatever happens in your life, as far as, again, energies around you and the environment around you, and the fact that you constantly react to that environment, and your body also constantly reacts to that environment in a way that you are totally unconscious about, and the mind too, a lot. That's also why, of course, at night you don't die, even if you become quite unconscious, but things don't stop at night, right? Even though you are pretty much like with zero control of what's happening. So that is karma, and everything affects everything like that all the time, constantly. That's why there's constant evolution and constant change. And also so previous karma decides, of course, what's happening in that moment. But also it's not set. Again, people sometimes mistake the point that they mix it with destiny, and it's not like that. It's not destiny, as there's nothing you can do about it. That's the point, that at every moment, every choice you make, or as far as I meant before, if you can keep a mind good, with good intentions, only doing good, only being positive, and work to become wiser only with humility, then you will affect that karma to become better and better and better over time. So the karma is not something unchangeable, as I meant, because it's constant change, and that's why you can affect it one way or the other. So as much as the previous karma decides what's happening in this life now, in general, like as I said before, how you were born, the context in which you were born, with what kind of body, what kind of shape, what kind of health, or healthy way or non-healthy way, and nice in shape body or deformities or whatever, and which social, familial context, everything is decided from your previous karma. But then that's the point. It's because of what you have done before or not cared to deal with before, and then there is your lesson to learn and to deal with. And if you will deal positively, objectively with these things in this life, instead of feeling sorry for yourself or playing the victim role like most do, then you will evolve towards a better karma. That's the point again, to learn to get a strong mind, positive mind, oriented in a good direction, with the good intentions. It's all about that. And everything starts in the mind, so everything is about intentions at first. Actions, people say yes, no matter what this person say, look at what they do. But it's not exactly that, because people can trick you easily like that too. Of course, unfortunately, again, humans are very good, maybe the biggest tricksters like that. Again, because they're so used to lie to themselves, so they are very used to lie to others in a way that it's become unconscious too, actually. Of course, we have many people who believe their own lies. They kind of know that they are lying, but they have become so compulsive that they actually believe their own lies, which is what most politicians are now, and some other people like that, sociopaths. I mean, politicians many of them are sociopaths anyway, that way. But anyway, so so it's all about, you can still, of course, that's the point, you can influence your future karma by what you're doing right now. And it happens more than you think, as far as every moment. It's not like today this or tomorrow this, it's also like every moment, every second. And if you keep that mind solid in the right direction, your karma will evolve in a good way, very quick. But also, it basically goes back to, if you can practice really, and the more you can practice meditation like that, you have a calm, composed, controlled mind, and only in the right direction, also with intentions, then the future karma will be better. Like Goenka explained in the retreat also, so, and also as far as how you die, because basically, like many Buddhists also, unfortunately, I mean regular Buddhist society people, they don't care enough, about that. They are raised in that context, but again, it's that ego, right? They are still human, so then they only try to do a little bit of being good Buddhist, only to get a better life. So in that sense, that it will affect your future life, your future existence, right? To be reborn in a better world. Unfortunately, many Buddhist lay people, regular people, they just, again, out of weakness, weak-minded ways, they think only in that direction. And again, it's going to fail actually, because it is becoming selfish and egoistical, and it's like they don't care actually. It's not a good intention, because they just basically cannot do the minimum required to supposedly have a better life. But that kind of mentality and mindset is weak and not good, not positive, of course, not good intended. So that's why anyway, they're not going to get better. And that's why the world is going in this direction in every way. Because even in the Buddhist societies, most people are still weak like that, and they are influenced by, of course, the outside world that way. And again, that's why only very few humans can become enlightened, and fewer now. So in that sense, it works both ways, right? Karma from previous life influences which context you were born in this life, and the general traits or general things that will happen in this life. But also then at every moment during this life, you can affect it for what's going to happen in the future, and ultimately how you're going to die and in which context you will be reborn. But also you can, try as much as you can properly, so that you can finish everything like that in this life. So you don't have to worry too much about what comes later. And as I meant to say, so like Goenka explained sometimes, so as far as karma, there are maybe like 3 levels, you could say. I mean, there's actually an infinity of levels in that sense, but still you can sum it up like that. So that you have some very weak like soft, subtle karmic traits that actually are just more like short-lived and affect smaller things in your life. It's like, if you draw a line in the water, then that line in the water will disappear quite quick and it doesn't affect much around, right? Then you have some other karmic traits that affect your life that are more like if you draw a line in the sand, right? And that line in the sand will stay longer until some bigger events will affect it and erase it, right? From wind, erosion, or water coming. So, and then there is the strongest, deepest karmic traits that your life and existence has from before, that will be the hardest to get rid of. And that is like if you use a strong chisel and hammer to draw a line in a rock, and of course that will take some time to erase that line. That's where you better be a very good, serious meditator and do the proper work of self-introspection objectively about yourself, and to look at yourself for what you truly are, your personality, and objectively, which most people cannot do anymore, of course, because most humans have become so narcissistic and they care so much more about the image that they throw or project on the outside world and to other people, instead of being very objective about what they truly are. But anyway, that's what it is, and that's exactly what at the end can lead to enlightenment. And what enlightenment is about, in that sense, it is actually erasing fully the karma. So you become a fully enlightened being when you have totally erased the karma. And by the proper work through meditation like that, the deepest trait, the strongest karmic traits that you have, by working properly and becoming wise, you will get rid of them. This is connected to what we call in the 5 khandhas steps, sankharas. Sankharas is your reaction. Every time you react to something, if you don't manage to keep equanimity and to be neutral to whatever happens, to have the wise mindset, to just accept reality for what it is, to accept the moment for what it is. Eckhart Tolle explains quite a few things like that are pretty good. So if you cannot accept wisely, calmly, whatever happens in your life, in this moment, any moment, from your environment around you, things, events, people, whatever, then you are in reaction mode, right? What I explained before about the 5 khandhas. Then any reaction that you create in your mind, emotional reaction of course, then you create more karma. And that's why a fully enlightened being doesn't have any emotion anymore like that, doesn't have any reaction impulses anymore, because he knows how to control the step in the 5 khandhas. He knows how to control the switch. That's exactly what the detachment is about, like the real non-attachment to whatever happens, and it's not me and nothing is personal. So you reach that level, and the fully enlightened beings have reached that level that nothing will affect that being anymore, or what happens on the outside, and rather they are at that, if they are fully enlightened, they are at that level that they see things coming anyway, they know what's happening for what reason, and that's also what helps in one way to not react, of course, but just with the acceptance again. The wise acceptance, the wise surrender to what is for what it is at that time, because again, there's no point to get upset with situations or people, because it's happening anyway, and it's happening for a reason. It's your karma. You attract all that through your own karma, so take responsibility. At the same time, there's no point to complain about what's happening, because it is happening and it's not going to change anything. So, and that's it. At that moment, it has happened already. It goes from happening to happened in a split second, right? So there's no point to be in strong reaction mode, and rather reflect wisely, objectively on what it is, why it's happening. And at the end, that's how it works, so that the point and the goal is to become wise enough and equanimous enough with things, with the wise understanding, so that it leads towards enlightenment, which means you have completely erased the karma and future karma. Then there's no more existence. That's what is known as for fully enlightened beings. There's no more existence in any form, because they have erased all the karma, all the karmic energy has finished, as again energy, which means waves, as what a reaction is to, as I explained also in the 5 khandhas. Fully enlightened being, after that, there's no more waves, no more energy like this, no more shifting energy anymore, no more change. Yeah, it becomes stable, but it becomes a stable void, not something stable as solid as a thing, as a phenomena, but actually it becomes the void. So of course the void is stable, because there's nothing there, like that. And also I wanted to mention quick that karma works, again, it's all energy interaction, right? Energy evolution, cause and effect. It works individually, of course, as is the main concern in general, and what I just explained, but there is collective karma. And again, that's what's happening in the world right now. Again, people might think or wonder why the world is going so mad and crazy, and why it's going in the direction that it is. But as I explained, and it's again basic mathematical ratio, when the greatest majority of humans actually don't care so much about that, and they are all very self-centered and narcissistic, and they don't have the best intention in mind, they have only like selfish intentions for what they think will make them happy, or what they like to do, what they enjoy in life, then you are at the opposite of the law of nature, and you just continuously satisfy to that ordered chaos, change and evolution, and that's why you make everything more complicated. And again, just like as Goenka explained, or others, of course, you cannot change the whole society by not changing the mindset of each individual. But when the majority of individuals are very self-centered, selfish people who mostly exist compared to what they want for themselves, and what they care about, and they don't know how to drop that ego to only care for others, then the society evolves in the direction that it is now. And that works everywhere. Just even in some Buddhist countries that were known to have very, very strong Dhamma, and now they are in trouble. Well, it's because when people think that they know about Dhamma and pretend, the whole notion of pretend, again, as I mentioned earlier, which is to fake, and actually a bad intention, because you want to pretend on the outside at the superficial level, but actually deep down it's the opposite, then there is bad karma. And that's the point, that if you actually know already about Dhamma, the Dharma teachings, the law of the universe, and how to apply Dhamma properly, but you still have the weak mind of not caring about it, like you should know better how to be good, but you don't care so much about being really good, then it becomes worse. Then you get worse karma, because you should know better than that. And to become a grown person and a mature being towards wisdom or developing wisdom, you should know already better than that to be a good person. So that's why there is that works at the scale of every society. I mean, at some point it was exactly like that compared to different societies, and that's why there were still some good enough societies or tribes or whatever nation in the world. But you can see and why actually the kind of evil side has taken over, and more and more and more. And actually there is that quote from Carl Jung, the philosopher, on the origin of evil, and when he says something about, we need more understanding of human nature. But that's the point, because most people are, it starts with ignorance, and most still live by that. Then they don't care to do the introspection to find out our true nature, to properly understand the human nature. Again, as I said yesterday, also the agenda has been put in place by the very evil people who have always existed, to actually also erase more and more, cancel more and more the ability in humans to go within and introspect within themselves to find our true nature and find exactly what I've explained before, so that they could become evolved in wise spiritual beings with proper understanding. But it's the opposite, right? It's mostly led by ignorance, very selfish, self-centered, ego-centered people, all ego-based, selfish interest in life, in existence. And when you don't really understand something, that's when fear starts. And just like the general ultimate fear of most people, which is death, again, when it should be the most accepted thing, because that's exactly the only common thing that will happen to everybody, and why we exist and we are born is actually, as far as this life, is to die one day. But again, it's the most feared things, which again shows that the majority of people don't understand at all anything about life and existence and themselves and their own nature. And so that's why non-understanding from ignorance leads to fear, and fear usually develop that aggressive behavior, right? Defensive, aggressive. Then it becomes aggressive. That's where the violence and the anger starts, and that's why humans are more and more violent now, because again, it's mostly the greatest majority is still ignorant. Make a point to remain ignorant. There's an agenda to keep people ignorant, so they don't have the capacity to develop the wisdom. Then that's why the world is going in this direction now, and more, and exponentially, of course. So it's all together, and that's why there's more and more violence everywhere, even for some basic things that we didn't really see before. But and also it's also due to many things. Like I said, some people have put, and the very evil leaders of this world have put in place an agenda with that, and I will touch on that another time. A quick one on but again, it has been developed a lot the last century, and especially after the Second World War, when they have found all the technological means and the chemical means everywhere to affect people. And that's why humans they are degenerate humans now, by being completely messed up, and nothing is according to the law of nature anymore. Again, those people, many humans and scientists, think that they can, basically control nature, apply, and they think they know better the nature's way than nature, and can fight against it, or can control it, or reproduce it their own way, artificially, all this, of course, goes against nature, the Dhamma, the laws of nature, the laws of the universe. Of course, humans are these tiny speckles in the universe on this little rock, but they think so high of themselves that they already know so much of the universe and how it works. Of course, all that again contributes to what I meant, that ignorant ego that like to think it knows better about what rules everything, but they don't. So it's a bad intention, bad mindset, and it creates bad karma, and creates bad karma for everybody. But yeah, so that's why now at a different scale, they have developed those technological devices to make people addicted and controlled by, and through the frequencies, again, vibration frequencies, and the screens to the eyes go directly to the brain, and the chemicals everywhere now in the food originally. You remember how they promoted at the time smoking is good. Doctors were making commercials for cigarettes. The industry has built all that. The whole big lie of the pharmaceutical companies that pretends that they produce things to cure you, but it's all about to make you addicted to drugs and controlled under the drugs, and all the chemicals they put in the food to make you addicted to the bad food, to develop diseases for you, again the whole thing. But all the chemicals everywhere, the plastics everywhere, in the soil, right, the fertilizers and everything. That do many people know that actually originally the fertilizer's main ingredient was the ammunition powder, and the leftover powder ammunition from the war that they used to make fertilizers, which is why some people can still makeshift some bombs by using fertilizers, like the guy in Norway who killed many people. Anyway, so there's so many things out there, but yeah. Anyway, that's the agenda, and that's how it is at this scale of things. But karma is karma. So again, that's why it goes back to the Buddha's famous saying, make an island of yourself, work on yourself, and like that, which is not selfish in that sense, because save yourself, and if you know how to save yourself properly in that way, that's how naturally you will develop the loving kindness and compassion and mudita, sympathetic joy to help others, of course. That's what some people like to make as a major difference between the big Buddhist traditions of Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana, and saying that Theravada is selfish and people want to become enlightened themselves only, blah, blah, blah. And when actually in Mahayana it's all about, we want to be reincarnated all the time until everybody becomes enlightened, or we can save everybody. But at the end it's similar. If you reach the higher level, if you keep that mind very good intended, in the right direction, all for the good, and refrain and try to erase all the evil within oneself, what we call the mind defilement, right? Moha, loba, dosa, which is what an enlightened being is about, that they have erased. That's why they have cancelled the whole karma, because they have cancelled, destroyed all what we call also the 10 fetters. They fit in those defilements, which is the moha, the delusion of believing in a self, in a me, in an I at the end, a constant solid like me, I, and loba, dosa, which are either like on the craving, needy, wishes, desires, the greed, the lust, the passion, and dosa, the opposite, the aversion, hatred, anger, animosity, ill will. So all these are the malintended impulses of the mind, or intentions, and if you can get rid of that, then you will really get a better karma. And if you save yourself from any bad thoughts, bad emotions, bad intentions, and only keep the good, and then evolve towards the true wisdom, then if you can save yourself that way, then you will know how to properly help and save others. So for the ones who are willing, it will be still the same. Then as much as you will encounter a lot of resistance from so many people who like to think they know better, right? But yeah, that's how it works, and that's about trying to explain about karma mainly, and Dharma, which is everything. And there is no God. And that's the point. It's just Dhamma, the laws of nature, how it works. That's why it can be explained in one way quite rationally, actually. And it all makes sense as, again, karma. Everything is cause and consequences. That's all. One thing has a logical consequence in the next moment. But because most of it happens at the energetic level that most people are unconscious about, then suddenly they have to make a big deal about it and speculate about it, and there comes the notion of a god or whatever. But it's not, it's just the laws of nature.